True, I thought. When I asked my sister who wrote it and told her it was so well written, she thought I had already accepted Jesus. She said they were Jesus' words. I was furious. I threw the book out into the yard. That hurt my sister so much, worse than a wound. She rushed outside and picked up the Bible. Then she told me that a sister in Christ had died during the Cultural Revolution in order to save this Bible.
Wang Xinsai's sister brought a Christian to see him. Later, this brother died in jail.
I invited him into my room. When he saw all the books on my desk, he asked me if I had read them all. I said that I had. Then he said, "You must be a seeker of truth." I said, "Yes." He told me that I wouldn't be able to find truth on earth. Real truth comes from above. He gave me an example. There was an apricot tree laden with ripe yellow fruit that fell to the ground. A pig came by and ate the apricot. Afterwards, the pig dug at the earth with his snout to try to find more. It didn't know to look up and see that the apricot had come from above. I thought the story was very philosophical. He didn't mention Jesus at all, or anything about the Bible. Later on, I felt an explosive force within me and said, "I believe." After I said that, I felt my face turn red. The blush was hotter than being caught stealing.
After becoming a believer, Wang Xinsai was eager to find the Bible he had thrown away, and he did manage to track down the Bible's owner.
I said I'd like to trade my bicycle for your old Bible. I offered my new Pigeon brand bicycle, but he said no.
In those years, a brand new bicycle cost as much as a car does today. However, a Bible was an invaluable treasure for a Christian.
The church was shut down, and from 1958 on, there were no gatherings. But an elderly sister fasted, prayed, and cried out to the Lord every day. She cried for the future of the Chinese church. During the Cultural Revolution, they found the Bible in her house and took her away. They beat her and broke one of her feet.
There was only one torn-apart Bible that survived the Cultural Revolution within 50 miles of our home. It had the New Testament, but only from Romans chapter 12 to Revelation chapter 11. We wanted to study it, but the owners wouldn't lend it out. It was their treasure. So we had to go over there to copy it. Every week, we had to make 2 or 3 trips. The first Bible I received was from a sister. Someone from Hong Kong had given it to her. During our meeting, we passed it around so that everyone could touch and feel it for a while. Everybody held it to their cheeks and kissed it. After being kissed by 30 people, the Bible was soaked with tears and the red color became faded.
During the Cultural Revolution, Chinese Christians risked their lives to preserve a few Bibles. But toward the end, a lot of hand-copied Bibles became available. And overseas believers began to smuggle Bibles to house churches across the country. It was not until 1985, sponsored by a Western foundation, that Bibles were printed in China in large quantities. But even today, public distribution is not permitted. People who want to own a Bible must buy one at a 3-self church. Mountains cannot stop rivers that flow to the ocean. Today, the Bible has entered millions of Chinese families. It is a stream in the desert, moistening every thirsty soul. By the end of the 1970s, Christians began to be released from jail.
I was so anxious to go home. I wasted no time and took the express train. It was after 11 o'clock at night when the train arrived in Beijing.
Our eldest daughter and her husband, our third son and I, the four of us, quickly ate some porridge, then hurried to the train station. The light was red and dim. You could hardly see anything. Our eyes got very tired. The four of us were spread out along the platform. We couldn't see each other. We kept looking around the train station until no one was left. We didn't find him.
I'd been gone over 20 years and I was wearing a black cotton-padded jacket and pants and a big fur hat and a pair of boots. They couldn't see me.
Alan Yuan took the bus to Baitasa, to the home he had left, but he couldn't find his home.
I looked here and there. Where should I go? I started to call my wife's name, Lili Liang. I didn't know where she had moved. In 1958, we were at Guiyincheng, their new address. I had no idea. My third daughter-in-law answered my call. Lili Liang went to the train station to pick someone up. I replied that it was me. Remember, I had never met any of these daughters-in-law. My oldest son was only 17 when I left.
Mrs. Yuan, along with her children, came back from the train station very disappointed.
I saw a light in my room. Was it possible? I hurried up the steps and opened the door. There he was washing his feet. His head was shaven, and he was quite happy. I was speechless. He told me they gave him 60 yuan for traveling. I still couldn't say a word. He was so thin. I didn't know what to say, yet I was full of joy and gratitude.
Usually, if it was a life sentence, you could never go home. People who don't believe in Jesus said a strong fate must have helped me return home. It wasn't my fate. I am God's child.
The first thing we did was to thank God. It was beyond every hope I ever had that he might come home. It turned out that prison was a safe place to be during the Cultural Revolution. Otherwise, he would have been beaten to death. I was so full of gratitude when I thought of this. After he washed his feet, he didn't eat. He went right to sleep. I cleaned up and got ready to go to work the next day.
20 years of imprisonment were over, but Alan Yuan knew that his wife had had a harder life outside prison during those long years.
All those 20 years, when I was gone, my wife suffered a lot while she raised our children.
After he left, we had 8 people in the family, my mother-in-law and 6 children. I had no job. Later, when I got a job, I made 80 cents a day, which is 24 yuan, US $3 a month. After the 3 yuan tithe, I had 21 yuan left. How could the 8 of us live on so little money? All I could do was